All right, I want to believe you all can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's
Yes, sir,
party.
we can hear you.
Let's party. Okay, so let me take this your accidents out. Right, so price did all of its thing and all of that and all those big and blah, right? And then dropped. Okay, what was my entry here again? I will now, after this had happened, okay, then I will now be willing to trade because this is the perfect flip zone scenario, but not what you were marking to be flip zone. You were trying to flip the wrong direction. Okay, understand the preceding direction and know what to flip what and when to flip what. Okay, this is now a grab on liquidity here. I will now see this as a grab on liquidity, not a break of structure, and then see this high as a break of structure. Now, this is the logic behind me now looking for my flip setup. The original move, because of the sell, the prevailing sell, is grab on liquidity, break of structure, right? But then I need to enter this trade based on the prevailing move, which is an uptrend. So I will now want to see this as what? Grab on liquidity and break of structure. So according to SMC, price was supposed to come in here, tap these regions, right? Induce this high, and buy. Okay, as soon as that fails and begins to come down, it means I have a flip zone inside of here. Now, the first thing I will mark is what would have been my inducible high, my inducible low, my inducement low rather, that I would be wanting price to grab before price buys. It would have been this low, right? So it means that my flip zone is somewhere around inside of this level. I can choose to extend it to the over the other side. I can choose to just let it be and then work with the new story inside of here. Okay, so once price broke through this level, I am now looking for the last high before that point. Okay, the last high before the level of inducement. Okay, so first things first, I want to mark out the area of the zone that was disregarded. And don't forget, I told you something. If you're marking flip zones, your flip zone cannot be inside of the area that was filled. It has to be above the area. So this guy being inside of the shaded area automatically disqualifies this guy from being my flip zone. So this guy will now become my inducement high. So above this high, I am not looking for an entry. I am looking for a shift in structure. Milton, how are you? Okay, please mute your mics, please. I'm hearing so many noises on the background. Ngozi, welcome back from your minor suspension. Your sins have been forgiven. Okay, so the moment this happens, right, I am seeing this move here and this to the downside. I can now decide to enter on the move back to this point aggressively. Okay, now if I am entering this, my stop loss is just above this week. I cannot risk anything far above this week, because if this is the story, this week should be protected. And then in cases like this is where my 2.5 pips story comes in. So if I must reach this area, it means stop loss has to be around 2.5 pips max. Okay, let's see from where I have my inducement line. So that's high. Yeah, this is my inducement line. So 2.5 pips. Right, so this is what the trade would look like if I would be willing to engage. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so that's that for that. Now, what other way could I have continued with this trade if I was going to take it? Okay, the moment this area fails, like I'm just trying to give you guys the various logics that can be applied into wanting to think like the composite man and then seeing price from its direction. Okay, so we have price grab liquidity, price has shifted structure. Okay, so this is a valid high, this is a valid low. Okay, I want to see somewhere that is around my equilibrium. somewhere around equilibrium pricing. Let's see that. Can you see this? This is my equilibrium, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. The price came nicely, tapped into my 50% and then dumped. So as soon as I saw this move tap into 50%, the moment I see price coming back into 50% area, I should be willing to engage. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So when I posted this trade on my story, asking if they understood the entry model that was present there, many people were just telling me so many things in my DM that did not concern me. And I was agreeing to all of it because I don't have power. Okay, so price went there, took out internal liquidity, right? Came back here, took out the buy side liquidity, came here to take out sell side liquidity, and then continued its rally. Okay, so BSL got taken out here, SSL got taken out here to continue the move to the upside. Okay, what was I even talking about? I was basically talking about Asian session. So I'm just delving into too many things at once. You guys just try to work with me. Okay, now this is another Asian session, right? So the prevailing story inside of the Asian session was an up trend. Okay, and then price broke the Asian high. It means that my next target will be that price should come to rally the Asian low. If the new structure that is forming in London is valid. Okay, let's see. This was by 8:30 again. Okay, so after price broke Asian high, it came here to give me a clear break of structure. I don't want to mark the stories on the left to look for the inducement level I'll be marking. Let me see if I can spot it. Let's see if we have a clear inducement week that we can spot. Okay, so personally, this would have been my highs to be induced. Okay, I expect price to induce those highs. So once this highs gets cleared as an inducement, the next thing I'm looking for is a shift in structure that now confirms my bias. Okay, a shift in structure that confirms my bias. Okay, once that happens, I am now looking forward to entering this trade. Personally, I would have loved to work with these points. I would have loved to work with these points as an inducement level. Okay. But then there are also reasons why this would have been very vital. There are reasons why this high would have been very vital for an inducement high. Okay, because it totally rhymes with the other one on the left, just like I explained here. It totally rhymes with the other one on the left. But then I would not want to take this because this was a proper mitigation of this block. So I would have just expected price to deliver nicely. But if I'm working with this guy, I will still definitely have had stop losses above this high. It would have been that wide. Okay, so this would have been maybe a 1 to 5 scenario for me. Yeah, this is 8.9 pips. And then I would target Asian low. Okay, this was still a fair one. I would target Asian low to be cleared as the final level. So this would be around 1 to 8, thereabouts. So that was still a fine trade. That was still a fine trade. And then we had something that would have bettered the re-entry, but now failed. Okay, so we'll just trace the story. So this was my London mitigation. What I'm trying to explain is how you can take advantage of the Asia session and wait for the Asian highs to be taken out. So with the proper grab on liquidity from your left or whatever inducement level you have marked out. And then wait to see your shift in market structure. Then you mark out your new internal inducement level to be taken out. Okay, and then engage upon confirmation. Okay, so this was another grab on liquidity and a break of structural high. Price was supposed to come here to buy and all of that, right? So this should be something I'll be willing to take as a flip zone. Okay, zone failure. And then it grabbed liquidity from here, right? This one grabbed liquidity from this point and tapped into some part of this fair value gap. So I would not be looking for price to totally clear this. I would just have to mark what I would have considered as my own inducement points that I'll be willing to trade from. And personally, I would have taken this point. Now, the reason why I would not mark this point exactly is that this point is directly inside of the zone. Okay, so then I will now mark this one that is higher, at least outside of the zone where the reaction happened. Okay, yeah, and then that was ace. So price came, taps in, and then tried to deliver. Okay, the other folks who will be trying to get in here on the confirmation will now get stopped out, which is part of the risk. It's part of the thing. Okay, it's just a part of trading. You can't totally win them, but then it's how you react to it when they catch you. How do you react to it when you're caught? Okay, so personally, I'll be willing to react from this zone. Okay, and then I'm seeing a reason why this was still a wrong decision, because if I had taken this, let's mark that. If I had taken this personally, I would have stop loss above this high, right? And then I will be targeting these points as my next level of inducements to be tapped into. This is what I would have targeted. Okay. So at 5 arrow, so this would have still been a nice trade. Okay. So at 5 arrow already, I have broken even and then I've taken partials. Okay. So price continued and then reversed at 6.77 arrow, went back to clear me out before giving a new narrative. Before giving a new narrative. Okay. Before then, personally, I will still now consider this as a flip zone. Okay. And then look to engage price after I have a confirmation from within this area. Let me see what I would have been willing to do. Okay. I would have been looking for this area to be taken. Okay. Which never got a confirmation as a break above this high. I did not have a confirmation as a break above this high. So there will be no point for me taking this. This would have been the only trade until I now realized that I was in the wrong side of the market. Because once this happens, that is why you need to be open to the logic that is present on price. Okay. Once this happens and I see that price has cleared this, it will immediately occur to me that this is an actual break of structure. Okay. So you should quickly be able to spot when grab on liquidity shifts to break of structure, and when shift of structure becomes grab on liquidity. And then I will understand that this here is a grab on liquidity. Okay, so my bias has changed. I am now looking for a bearish bias. Does that make sense? So internally, I am still seeing another grab on liquidity and then a shift of internal structure. I will now be willing to work with my last point of confluence. Okay, with my last point of confluence, because automatically I will still see this as a failed I'll still see this as a failed level of demand, right? So this is the guy that caused the failure. Okay, does that make sense? This is the guy that caused the failure, right? So it means that I need to see somewhere that it induced, somewhere that it induced. And then this guy grabbed this. No, it did not grab. This is still higher. This is still higher. This is still higher. So all of these, we are transfer of funds, transfer of funds, transfer of funds. Basically, I will expect all of these here to be cleared. Personally, I will expect all of these here to be cleared even up to this point. Okay, but did that happen? No, it did not happen. So I would not be in this trade until I have a conversation, until I have a confirmation. What should have been my confirmation? what should have been my confirmation? This shift of structure would have been my confirmation. Okay, and then this here would have been where I would be willing to now play from as a follow-through entry model. Okay, so at this point, I'll be in this trade here already as entry one. Now, all of this, the reasons why I did not take any of those trades behind was simply because I was trying to get a clear confirmation. I like confirmations on my trade. Is it possible there are some trade here I would have gotten into aggressively? Yes, personally. On this one, I would have chosen to get in aggressively if price had come to this high, or if I'd seen a follow-through model on my 30 seconds or thereabouts inside of this story here, which definitely there has to be one somewhere here. Okay, but let's assume, because we all cannot see that, let's assume we let it be. Okay, and then I'm targeting this first lows, first of all, as TP1. Okay, but even after TP1, which is actually a 5 arrow, and then I already have my second entry, immediately price breaks this structure. My next inducible point that gives me my second entry is here, right? So this is a 1 to 5. This is another 1 to 5 or more. Let's see. So price continued up to this point and then gave me a nice 1 to 5 thereabouts, or 1 to 5 points, as the case may be. So let's just call it 1 to 5. Okay, so this was a 10 arrow. Okay, after we didn't take all of these moves inside of here. So this day would have recorded, definitely I would have been in this as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then probably this if I wanted to. Okay, and then price would have come to this point and stopped me out at break even. My responsibility is now to look for the new story that has occurred in price. What I'm trying to do now is take you guys through how I see price. Okay, so this would have been my new story. I'm willing to consider this high as an inducement. And personally, I would want to see a shift in structure. If I'm not working with a 30 seconds time frame, I would want to see a shift in structure. I would want to see price violate this. Okay, so I may not have been in this trade, except I still have open orders from what I have here. Rather. So this one, if I still have open orders that has not been tapped out on, what's it called, break even, then this one will run. Apart from that, all of this will go. I'm not interested till the next day when I get a clear confirmation to what I am doing and why I am doing what I am doing. I like to know why I'm taking any trade. Okay, if there's no proper why as to why I'm taking it, no proper reason as to why I'm taking a trade, it does not interest me. I just feel like I'm exposing myself to too much risk. Okay, so let's look for another long Asia session and then see how I would have taken advantage of that. Okay, so this was a story that happened pre-Asia. Price grabbed liquidity and price shifted structure. All right, so this was a grab on liquidity and a break of structure. That was a fundamental that caused this heavy move, right? But the story we have, the prevailing story we have, was still a bearish story. So it is my responsibility to now look for my last point of liquidity that I expect inducement week, that I expect price to tap into. Okay, and that was it. When that happens, I am now looking for my shift in market structure. Let me see what time the mitigation occurred. It still occurred at 8:30. So this was still my London mitigation. So after this shift in structure, I am looking for the next point of highs to be liquidated. That should now birth my entry. So this is where I am willing to come in from. As soon as I see this happen, I can now come in with stop losses above this guy. And then I am targeting, final target is on the Asian low. Okay, final target will be on the Asian low. But then while I'm targeting final Asia low, I'm taking partials along the way. So this would be a 22 arrow trade with final targets on the Asia low. Okay, so this particular position up here would have been running throughout the whole time, while I still take more entries and more entries and more entries. Okay, so this was an inducement level. Okay, this was an inducement level. Okay, I'm not willing to enter until I see some sort of shift in market structure. That now makes me mark out my new level of inducement. And then price got there and then tapped into the new level of inducement. My stop loss is above this guy. Okay, and then target still on lows to be cleared. So I will still want to target Asian low. Okay, Asian low. Now let's look for the next point of interest. After this shift in structure, it means automatically I have a new inducement level. New inducement level. Right? Personally, I would have marked this. Let me see if I had a better pricing. Where I have any fair value gap there. Is everybody following me? Okay, I've seen something. Yeah, so this was the last high before.
Yes, boss, we are with you.
So the last high before the fair value gap. Okay, so this was it. So as soon as price taps into that, I want to see a shift in market structure, right? Then I am now willing to engage from either this point or this point, as the case may be. But most times I like my new, what is it called? I like my new inducement level to be closer to the previous one. Okay, to be closer to the previous one. So at this point, I may have chosen to play from here or play from this guy itself. Okay, so I had 2 entries extra here. So let's just assume we were using the whole vast area. Let's assume we were using this whole vast area. I know why, because lots of you guys would not want to mark. After learning that Dr. Bank said, most times price must not get to your order block. Most of you would not know when to use blocks or when to use inducement. So let's just assume all of us marked out this area. And then we had all of that vast area open. That's however, you need to be sincere to yourself when you backtest. That's the only way to do it. Okay, and then target was still what? The Asia. There are still buy moves inside of there I would have taken, okay? But we are focusing on these sales. And the sales are quite obvious. Are they not obvious? The sales are very obvious sales, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, boss, they are obvious.
So this was another grab on liquidity. We expect upward prices. We grab this guy, and then it means there's some level of flip zone inside of here. But let's not go to that so I don't confuse you guys. Okay, so let's say we got these 3 trades in our bid to get, in our bid to just trading our sell positions, because we have seen price clearing, we have seen price reacting from this session. Then we are hoping to clear an Asian low. Since price failed to clear the high, it means it wants to clear the low before it goes for the high. I don't know if that makes sense. If price does not clear an Asian high first and it clears a low, it means the next target to be run is the high. Okay, so this was a 23 arrow, this was a 16 arrow, this was an 11 arrow. So 23 plus 16 plus 11. So do the math of how many arrow you would have gotten just following simple confirmations, no extra magic. Grab on liquidity, break of structure, return to mitigate inducement points. Okay, most of my guys I know would have come into this trade aggressively and stop loss above that high. I don't approach Asia like that. I want to see clear confirmation. If not, this will be 1, entry 1, then entry 2. Okay, so let's wait confirmation. We had this nice setup here. The same thing, grab on liquidity, shift in structure, came to liquidate internal inducement levels and then dropped. Okay, while it dropped, it gave us a new break of structure, right? And then gave us a new level of inducement, came, grabbed liquidity, shifted internal structure, came back to mitigate or induce this level and then drops. So this was supposed to be grab, shift. Okay, so this is already an amazing confirmation on its own. This was supposed to be another entry, but I want to assume that you were too scared to enter because you did not see a shift of this structure. Okay, so we now have this shift of structure here that now ushers us in. Okay. Now, prior to that time, we still have at this point a grab on liquidity. We have a grab on liquidity. We have this shift in market structure. Okay, and then we have this inducement low. So yeah, I caught these trades. I remember I caught this sell to buy here. I think I closed on this. I did not take the preceding sell because I was already in this trade from this point. Yeah, and under these lows, it was not much. It was like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. Yeah, this was it. Okay, so it's just quite simple, doing the same thing over and on. Okay, the idea of hedging is that I know price wants to sell, but while price is selling, I am seeing a nice buy setup inside of my sell trend on my lower time frame. So instead of me to now close my sales, I will just take partials from my sales and open a buy position with respect to the buy setup. That's what it's called hedging. That's the whole algo thing you see people do and you're surprised. It's nothing too magnificent. Now, there's some in-depth precision to the whole game. Okay, there's some other guys who have mastered this intraday thing and then they do it like magic. We'll get there someday. But while we are still trying to figure what that external source is, let's understand the theory of time and price and then understand the logic behind what we'll be doing so we can make progress from there. Okay, so that was just that trading with the narrative of Asia. And the same thing, I've explained this one that happened here as well too. What else have I not explained? Anything left? Okay, another Asian session. I've explained this one too. Have we? Yeah, I've explained this one. Another Asia session. Okay, so price grab liquidity from this one. No shift in structure, no shift in structure, no shift until we had a shift. Look at this here. Okay, look at this high. After price grab liquidity from the Asian low, this was the prevailing high. It was still intact, right? Now, somebody will tell me that, oh, price shifted structure here. If you want to call this a shift in structure, to every shift in structure, there must be a grab on liquidity. So let's say this is a shift in structure. I'll go back up, this guy. Let's say this is a shift in structure, right? So if that's our shift in structure, then where is our grab on liquidity here? That sponsored the shift in structure. No grab, right? So it automatically means this is a trap. Anybody that goes in there will lose his or her money. Now, this is now the game. Grab on liquidity, shift in structure. Okay. Came back nicely to mitigate an order block this time around. Right? Does that make sense? Because this is still somewhat of a flip zone. Measuring by this week here, this is the grab on liquidity. And this could be the previous breakout structure. And this could now be the inducement high that price should come to clear to now give us further sales. Okay, but price got to that point and then blasted through it. So he had to come to the guy that sponsored the blast off to now move. As simple as that. So this would have been a nice buy setup. Stop loss is just below the guy that sponsored. Okay, and then you're willing to play. Okay, target should be mid-Asia. Mid-Asia first. After mid-Asia, I took this trade, so I remember clearly. After mid-Asia, you now target Asian high. Okay, there's something called the mid-Asia liquidity. I'll teach about that in some other time. So this was a 33 arrow trade, simply following your trade rules. Okay, and then it was easy to do. I think this was the last one that started the week. because I remember dropping this narrative for you guys at some area I expected EU to reverse from. Okay, so it just came nicely to grab internal liquidity inside of this range. Okay, and then shifted structure nicely and then bought. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question.
Please ask me.
It's not exactly about what you thought tonight, it was something like that you explained last week.
Okay.
I should.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you took a 17-hour short trade
Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah.
and you were explaining you placed your SL at a particular open. You were talking about I think the bulk order or something. Do you remember that trade, that short trade I took?
On Friday, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's look for it
So
then.
I don't quite understand why your stop loss was there.
Let's look for it then.
All right.
It was somewhere inside of here. It was this trade.
Yeah, that's trade, exactly.
It was this trade on Friday because that was the last trade. I was supposed to take this buy, okay, and then I had already made videos of the expected price action, which exactly happened how I predicted, but I was not comfortable with not seeing a candle here, with the fact that my trading view plug has not subscribed my trading view for me. So I was not comfortable. I was not seeing a candle here. I didn't know what to mark exactly as my liquidity inducement level. So I just let it be. Okay, so let's deal with that again. Let's deal with that so Isaac can get value. All right, so like I explained, this was a flip zone. Okay, this was a point of demand. The price reacted from. If I scroll to the left on the 15 minutes time frame, you'll see it. The demand block was what sponsored this move, and then it failed. Okay, this was the exact guy that failed the block. Okay, and then it has stored liquidity before it. It has stored liquidity and then also set up some trap for people who trade just setups without logic. Setup without logic means you're just trading because you see price forming. That's your entry model. Without asking where is it forming from? Why should it form from that point it's forming from? That is called inducement. Inducement is what welcomes you into a trade when it's not time. Liquidity is what throws you out of the trade before time. Inducement welcomes you into a trade before time. Liquidity in turn throws you out of the trade before time. so the both of them, you need to be careful with both times. So you are in at the right time when you should be. So because this guy is now working from an unsupported angle, he just grabbed into a point of liquidity, which was nice. Okay, tapped into liquidity and then shifted. But when it comes to failed demand and supply, when it comes to flip zones, the block itself has to do the work. Okay, if you look at all the flip zones I've been marking, it has to come from a particular block. The block itself has to do the work. So I was certain that this is a flip zone, and I was certain that price will come here and induce, or take all of these guys here who are just entering trade because of the leading of whatever thing is leading them, and then move. Okay, so I expected price to do that, and it did just that. So my stop loss was just above the block. It was not anything extra. Okay, so my stop loss was just above the block. Now, I used this instead of the block. I think that was what your question is on. I used this instead of the block. And
That's
this
my
was,
question, sir.
okay. So you want to know why I used this instead of the block, and it was 17R. Let me know which of them. Yeah, it was the body of this that I used exactly. I want to get that exact precision for you. Okay. This is what I was using. Let me pinch this down to its. Yeah, this is what I was using. Okay. Now, the idea is that this is an indecision candle, right? And after this decision was made here, they all agreed to sell price. Okay, after this point. So it means there was a board meeting here that told them to sell. So they sold off at this point. It means that this decision still stands after they broke structure. They are coming back to that point. Is just for them to say, yes, we agree with what we had decided in this point. Okay, so there is no point coming into the full body of the candle. The volume is in the body, so anywhere in the body is responsible. So I just decided to work with this idiots that I had on the side. Okay, it is the same way sometimes when I work with stuff like this, I just work with the exact body. Okay, I hardly mark weeks when I trade with indecision candles. I just work with the body like this. Okay, so that was what I did there, and then I just let it play. But then it's not something you should begin to try immediately. Just backtest it and see how it plays out until when you have enough confidence. There's a way you can start doing it. Okay, you can leave one position. If you need to open a standard lot or 0.20 lot, open 0.10, 0.10 into two positions. Okay, one of them should cover the whole zone. The other one should be on your whatever you think should sponsor the exact movement. That's how you keep practicing and trying it out until you can finally get it, and then build confidence in doing it.
All right.
You're welcome. Any other question? Any other question?
Yes. Sorry, I know you already talked about this just before I joined. Like you're talking about how to like I think there was this indicator you're trying to show, like or you showed, and then I didn't get it. I'm sorry. The kill zone.
Yeah, okay. That's in the recording already for the video, so you would see the
Messy.
setups. But the name of the stuff is just go to indicators. You know how to add indicator, right? Indicator.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the name Asian range and Q zones. Asian range and Q zones. That's the name.
What I wanted to get was the settings. Sorry, I know it's in the recording. Sorry.
Okay. All right, see it again.
Okay.
Just session 1800 and 1.00 on 1 a.m. rather as UTC. So just leave Asian display area on, choose your preferred color, and then off every other thing, except you have something else you're doing with it. I don't have anything else to do with that apart from Asian session.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, so tomorrow is Monday. As usual, you're expected to post on the group a breakdown of your trades, okay, from expectational order flow. I just want London trades in London. So you guys feel free to interact, enjoy yourself in London, but then I need a London open trade, a trade that you use to open London, something that gives you, okay, so your first trade in London around your 8 o'clock or 8:30 mitigation and what you expect to happen, Euro USD, that's just what I need. So everybody post your expectational order flows on Euro USD tomorrow on the group, and let's get it, share ideas and see how we can make progress. I've observed that the reason why most of you guys do not post ideas on the group or share trades is because you are scared of being wrong, and it's a naughty thing to do. Okay, sometimes I mark my charts and I'm actually the wrong one. Okay, there's one day one of you guys told me that a trade has left me, and I refused that trade has left me. I had to come to the group to apologize, say, yes, you told me the trade actually left me. So I was wrong and you were correct. You don't have to be right as a trader. Your work is not to be right. Okay, when you can, okay, I'll talk about psychology one of these days. But in the meantime, let's call it a night. I have less than 1 minute already. So you guys take care of yourself and have an amazing night rest.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you, boss.
All right, guys. Thank you. Good night.